My father, Marcus Thorne, raised his champagne glass at his 70th birthday party. The crystal gleaming under the light of the gilded ballroom chandeliers. 200 guests fell silent as he commanded the room with the same cold authority he'd wielded over his venture capital empire for 40 years. He looked directly at me, his eyes devoid of warmth. I stood near the back, a ghost in a borrowed dress, feeling the weight of their collective gaze. "We come to my daughter, Avery," he said, his voice sharp as shattered glass, "who rejected this family to play in the dirt with her little gardens." The silence lasted 3 heartbeats before the room erupted in applause. A sickening celebration of my public execution. My brothers, Leo and Julian, the perfect princes of finance, clinked their glasses together, smirking in my direction. I turned and walked toward the door, my legs steady, despite the earthquake in my chest. Each step was a defiance. Behind me, I heard Leo's voice, amplified by the room's acoustics. "Hope those vegetables keep you warm at night, little sister." My hand reached for the massive oak door when a quiet voice called my name. "Avery." "Wait." I turned to see Arthur Finch, my family's lawyer for 40 years, his face a mask of pained sympathy. "Your mother, Eleanor," he whispered, his eyes darting toward the celebrating crowd. "She knew this day would come. She prepared for it 20 years ago." He pressed a thick manila envelope, sealed with burgundy wax bearing my mother's elegant initials, into my numb hands. "She made me swear on my life I would give this to you tonight." Before I could form a word, he squeezed my arm and was gone, melting back into the party. My mother had been dead for 20 years, taken by cancer when I was just 14. Now, 2 decades after her death, she was reaching out from the grave. I sat in my old car, the engine off, the sounds of my own humiliation still ringing in my ears. With a surge of defiance, I tore the envelope open. Her elegant, looping handwriting made my throat close up. I took a deep, shuddering breath and read the first line. "My dearest Avery, if you are reading this, it means your father has finally shown his true nature to the world, and you need to know the truth about why I really died." Asterisk. I had to read it 3 times. The words swimming before my eyes. I didn't die from cancer. My love, the cancer was real, but it was induced. I was poisoned, slowly and methodically, by your father. Asterisk. My hands went numb, the letter falling into my lap. I didn't read another word. The world tilted on its axis. I pulled out my phone, my fingers fumbling, and called Arthur. He answered on the first ring. "You read it," he said. It wasn't a question, just the beginning. I replied, my voice hard and steady, a stranger to my own ears. "We meet at 9 a.m. Monday. Your office. No delays." This was no longer about humiliation. This was about retaliation. 3 weeks before that nightmare of a party, I was knee-deep in rich, dark soil, helping a group of 5th graders plant a tomato garden in a vacant lot in the Bronx. Their school had no funding for fresh food, so my nonprofit, Urban Roots, was building one for them. A little girl named Maria held up a worm, her face a perfect picture of horrified delight. That's who I am. That's the life I chose. I started it with a small trust fund. My mother left me just $80,000, but it was enough. Everything else I built myself. 1 grant proposal. 1 fundraiser. 1 16-hour day at a time. The morning the invitation arrived, my assistant handed me an expensive, ostentatious, and cold career envelope. Inside, the message was a command times. "Your presence is required. Family duty demands attendance." Asterisk. Family duty. I almost laughed out loud. Where was family duty when my father refused to attend my college graduation because I was wasting my potential on a sociology degree? Where was it when my mother died, and he sent me to a boarding school in another state 3 days after her funeral, telling me thorns do not wallow? Still, some instinct inherited from my mother, a quiet whisper in my soul, told me this summons was different. I grew up in that penthouse, a gilded cage on the 57th floor, overlooking Central Park. It was there my mother would sneak me books about botany and social justice. Her finger to her lips as she whispered, "It's okay to dream of a different life. My love. A life where you grow things instead of acquiring them." My brothers, Leo and Julian, had taken to the family business like sharks to blood, molded in my father's ruthless image. Then there was me, the daughter who announced at a family dinner she was going to build gardens for the poor. "You're spitting on your mother's memory," my father had said, his voice dripping with contempt. But he was wrong. On her deathbed, her voice, a fragile thread, my mother had whispered, "Follow your heart, Avery. It knows the way." The day after the party, I was sitting in my cramped office, staring at my mother's letter, when another courier arrived. This one delivered a thick legal envelope. Inside was a cease and desist letter, drafted by my father's new legal team, forbidding me from using the Thorn name in any professional capacity. As if I ever had. Tucked behind it was an eviction notice. My father had bought the Bronx lot our main garden was on. We had 72 hours to vacate. It wasn't enough for him to disown me. He had to salt the earth. To destroy the one good thing I had built for myself. That was his mistake. He thought he was kicking me when I was down. He had no idea he was handing me a reason to burn his entire world to the ground. Monday morning arrived, gray and drizzling. The city weeping with me. Arthur met me at his dusty, book-lined law office. And from there, we went to the bank. He led us down to the vault. A place of cold steel and colder silence. He used his key. I signed the ledger. And the bank officer used a second key to open. Box 729. Inside, my mother had organized everything meticulously. The first folder contained the original code for a predictive trading algorithm, written in my grandfather's elegant, scientific hand, paperclipped to Marcus's clumsy forgeries. The real shock was a small, silver USB drive. Arthur plugged it into his laptop. "Your mother wanted you to hear this," he said, handing me a pair of headphones. My hands trembled as I put them on. I selected the file she mentioned in the letter, March 3rd, 2004. My father's voice filled my ears. Casual and cold. The same voice he used to order dinner. "The current dosage isn't working fast enough. Every day she lives is another day she might talk. I need you to increase the thallium. Not enough to trigger an autopsy, but enough." "The doctor's nervous," reedy voice responded. "Marcus, this is all ready. Just make it happen." My father cut him off. "Another 2 weeks. Maximum." I ripped the headphones off. A strangled gasp escaping my lips. My stomach churning with bile. Arthur had already been in contact with an SEC agent. A woman named Diana Riley, who tried to investigate my father years ago on insider trading charges, but could never make anything stick. One phone call, and she agreed to meet us immediately. The real twist wasn't just the murder. It was the legacy. My mother's letter, which I read in its entirety in Arthur's office, explained everything. 6 months before her diagnosis, she discovered that my grandfather, her father, wasn't just Marcus's early business partner. He was the quiet genius who developed the revolutionary algorithm that launched Thorn Capital. Asterisk, your father stole it. Avery. He forged documents, pushed my father out, and then ruined him financially. He died of a heart attack a year later. But it was from a broken heart. I confronted Marcus with the evidence I found. That was my mistake. Asterisk. My mother had spent her final, agonizing months building a case against her own husband. But more importantly, she'd transferred the original algorithm rights, which she'd secretly inherited from her father, into a secret trust. Asterisk. The algorithm itself is the foundation of every trading platform Thorn Capital uses. The royalties should have been yours. I've made sure they were collected in a trust under my maiden name, Ellsworth. There's approximately $142 million in the account now. Asterisk. The money wasn't the gift. The truth was, asterisk, inside the safety deposit box. You will find everything. You have a choice. Take the money and live your life free. Or use what I've left you to destroy him. Your father's cruelty isn't because you're worthless, but because you remind him of me, the one person he could never truly control. Agent Riley reviewed the evidence with the focused intensity of a predator who'd been waiting for this moment her entire career. She listened to the recording, her expression hardening into granite. "This is it," she said, her voice low and certain. "This is enough for murder. Fraud. Conspiracy. Marcus Thorne is finished." She wanted to move immediately, to storm the gates of Thorne Capital that afternoon. But I had a different idea. He's taking Thorne Capital public on Friday. It's his crowning achievement. Every investor, board member, and media outlet will be at the stock exchange for the opening bell. Agent Riley looked at me, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across her face. "You want it public. I want everyone who applauded my humiliation to watch him fall." Friday arrived with the electric hum of a coming thunderstorm. The New York Stock Exchange was a buzzing hive of greed and ambition. My father stood on the balcony, overlooking the trading floor, flanked by Leo and Julian, ready to ring the opening bell. The ultimate symbol of his triumph. The floor below was packed with the same smug, tailored faces from the party. I walked directly onto the trading floor with Arthur, Agent Riley, and 6 other federal agents. My father saw me first, his face shifting from annoyance to confusion. The crowd began murmuring, a ripple of disbelief spreading through the room. Avery Leo spoke into a nearby microphone, his voice echoing in the vast space. "What, in God's name, are you doing here? Security." I ignored him and walked up the steps to the balcony. Agent Riley right beside me. The entire room falling silent. "Before you ring that bell, Dad," I said, my voice carrying in the sudden, absolute quiet. "Your investors should know Thorne Capital is built on stolen technology. And murder?" Marcus laughed. That dismissive bark I'd heard my whole life. "You pathetic creature. You're delusional." "Not delusional. I have facts." I held up my phone, which was already connected to the exchange's powerful sound system. My father's voice, my mother's murderer, filled the hall, discussing how he needed to increase the poison. Horror spread across the faces below like a contagion. "That's fabricated," Marcus shouted. But his voice cracked, betraying him. Agent Riley stepped forward, her badge raised high. "Marcus Thorne, you are under arrest for the murder of Eleanor Ellsworth Thorne, and for federal securities fraud. You have the right to remain silent." As they cuffed him, he lunged toward me, his face a mask of pure hatred. "You destroyed everything," he hissed. "No," I replied calmly, my voice steady. "You destroyed everything when you killed her. I'm just settling the account." 6 months later, I stood in the new headquarters of the Eleanor Ellsworth Foundation, the largest urban agriculture initiative in the country. The trial had been swift. Marcus Thorne was found guilty on all counts. Life without parole. I attended every single day, sitting in the front row. He never looked at me. Leo and Julian lost everything. The company collapsed, its assets seized, their fortunes, built on a lie, evaporated overnight. 3 weeks after the verdict, Leo showed up at my office. He looked smaller, deflated, without his custom suits and arrogant posture. "I need a job," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Anything. I'll haul compost." "Why?" here I asked, genuinely curious. "Because," he said, his voice cracking, "you're the only one who ever built something real. I hired him." He slowly, painfully, learning what it means to earn something honestly. The Ellsworth Trust, my mother's secret legacy, was used to build something she would have loved. We now fund community gardens and urban farms in over 50 cities. A year after the foundation opened, I received a letter from my father in federal prison. It contained just 3 words. Asterisk, your mother won. Asterisk, I framed it and hung it in my office. A constant reminder that victory isn't about what you gain, but what you refuse to lose. This morning, I helped a community in Detroit break ground on a new 2-acre farm. A young girl, no older than 10, told me she was excited to finally have fresh strawberries. That girl's smile, the hope in her eyes, was worth more than any inheritance Marcus could have left me. If you're watching this, and you've ever been told you're not worthy, that choosing kindness makes you weak. Remember this. The compassion my father saw as a weakness became the very strength that brought his empire of cruelty down. Your worth isn't determined by those who reject you, but by what you choose to build in spite of them. My name is Avery Thorne. And I'm the daughter, my father said, was worth nothing. Today, his stolen fortune is feeding thousands. That is my inheritance. That is my truth. And it all started with a sealed envelope and a mother's perfect, passionate love. If this story resonated with you, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear that your true value is something no one can ever take from you.